if you guys want to get started, I know that the official title of today's meeting is what is your best social media tip for aviation sales or marketing professionals? So in the beginning of these, we usually do a quick pitch, just basically saying who you are and what you sell. And then if you want, you can include like how to get in contact with you and all that sort of thing. So I'll go first, and then Mom, and then if you guys are cool with this, we'll go Debbie, John, and Larry. Is that good by everybody? So I'll go first. My name is Mickey Gaminal. I am the CEO and founder of Gaminal Tutors. Right now we are hosting ASVAB Domination. We have an October class starting here very shortly. So if you or someone you know is interested in joining the military at the highest possible level, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I have free resources and paid resources if you're ready to invest in your success.
Paula Williams, ABCI. We help aviation companies sell more of their products and services, and we have our October Aviation Sales Professional course starting very soon also. And this is if you are a broker or a charter operator, an FBO, a flight school, doctor, lawyer, insurance person, butcher, baker, candlestick maker in the aviation industry, you need to sell more stuff. So that's what we do, is we help people make those connections, do their digital, their personal branding, do role playing, learn how to do calls, all of those things that are so hard for people who aren't used to sales. So that's what we do.
Hi, I'm Debbie Murphy with Jet Brokers. I'm the VP of Marketing and Digital Strategy. And Jet Brokers helps our clients buy and sell jets.
My name is John Quaffle. I'm the CEO and founder of Trinity Aviation Solutions. I help aviation businesses build better websites to serve their clients.
I'm Larry Heinbaum, the Executive Director of Business Aircraft Records. And Paul, I'm going to read this if it's okay, because I haven't had time to really go over this too much. Paul and I have been recently, just today, working on this elevator pitch thing. So I'll start off, I'll say. I've worked in the business aviation industry for over 40 years, and I've seen and experienced the horror stories that we see every day in our industry from our poor aircraft logbook practices that we have. The value of an aircraft highly depends on the quality and thoroughness of the logbooks, but unfortunately, most people don't know how to fix the problems that we're seeing over and over again in our industry. And no one realizes that the dysfunctional record keeping that we have today is actually costing our industry $125 million every year, or $5,000 for every airplane that operates. So I started this nonprofit the end of last year. It's called the Foundation for Business Aircraft Records Excellence. And I've been producing articles, blogs, and videos in an effort to educate the business aircraft community that there are steps we can do now to rectify the situation. And I am currently looking for people to join me in the effort of educating the industry so that we can join the professionalism of the industry instead of always being considered the red-haired stepchild that nobody wants to talk about. You can join us if you go to businessaircraftrecords.org, and there's a contact link, or you're always welcome to call me. My phone number is posted there. If you think you have something to contribute to what we're doing, I would very much appreciate hearing from you. Okay.
I like it. I like the statistics on it. That's powerful. Good stuff. Yeah, you hear millions. Cool.
Exactly. Billions always gets people's attention.
I guess you guys have that as an advantage, right? As an aviation company, you can always, these numbers aren't really that outlandish. Like, it's those are big, it's big numbers that are associated with these planes. So that's cool.
Yeah. We help one company sell one more airplane a year, and that's, millions. Usually not billions,
right,
but millions.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's cool. So I'll start with the social media tip that I believe to be the best. And that's going to be audiences inside of Facebook. So if you look up, if you've ever done a promotion on Facebook, you can specifically request to target audiences. I've used this in proximity, so geographic location. So I could say within 20 miles of my house, I'm a tutor if you need it. And then more lately, I've been using it more broadly. So I've been looking for and targeting fans of ROTC and JROTC and Marines, Air Force, each individual branch of military, to see what gives me more traction. So that is the tip that I would recommend to anyone who's starting out or even already deep into their business, is looking at the audiences, and the numbers are there. Like, it'll show you exactly how many people you'll reach given the audience that you put in. So you can be as specific or as broad as you want, and it gives you a lot of opportunity to see what works.
Let me throw in on that. When I used to work for Fortune 50 companies, like Wells Fargo and so on, years ago, we used to pay tens of thousands of dollars for the kind of research that Mickey is using for free. And, we used to use Gartner Group and Forrester research and Nielsen research and those kinds of things. And it used to be just very, very, only the very biggest companies can afford this sort of data, to know how many households there are at this income level within the zip code. That is data that we used to pay through the nose for. And I think it's just absolutely insane that you can just get that now for free and use it anytime you like. And, you can boil it down even more specifically than we used to, down to only households in the top, 10% that have an interest in NBAA or Moody's or, whatever the situation is. And, boil it down so specifically so you're not throwing money at advertising to people that have no interest, So I think it's just cool. And, I know there's a lot of problems with social media, but this, I think, is really a great democratizer. Is that a word? Of being able to use this data and having access to stuff that nobody else used to except for the world's biggest companies. So, now little tiny companies can use this.
By democratizer, you mean like it levels the playing field for
right.
Delta versus everybody else?
Right. So a one-man show can do what Wells Fargo used to do, and only the world's biggest companies used to be able to do.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think, those big companies still tend to have a lot more resources than the smaller businesses. So sure. They are able to test a little more thoroughly a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But because we have access to the same information, it does level the playing field quite a bit as far as figuring all that stuff out. So yeah, completely agree.
Oh yeah, they can throw $1 million into your ads where you're throwing 100, but still, you got the data, which is knowledge is power, right?
True that. 100%. Have any of you guys seen The Social Dilemma? I have to ask. I should ask now.
Not yet. I'm afraid to watch it.
Yeah.
Me too. I've been meaning to watch it.
I don't really want to know. I kind of do know, but I don't really want to watch it right now.
Yeah. No, it's pretty. Yeah, but yeah, it says the same thing. It's funny because I'm the evil corporation in that movie, which is great, right? Like, it's like,
you're not big enough to be the evil corporation.
Well, maybe.
You have to have the money.
I'd like to think that I'm not evil enough.
True. That too.
Oh shoot! But yeah, no, it's great. It's crazy just how much information is out there. It is an information age, as people like to say. So.
Right.
Oh, that's funny. I haven't seen that yet, and I do want to watch it. But I was thinking when Paul was talking about what you do, Mickey, I was thinking, that is, I think, one of the advantages of computers and the internet. Although it drives us all crazy, it does give us access to information that people like yourself don't have to be the evil corporation charging tens of thousands of dollars to other evil corporations like Wells Fargo for the information. You can give it to us at a cost that we can all afford, and you can make money doing it, and everyone's happy. So I think that's one of the benefits of technology.
Right. There's no such thing as a single-edged sword. So, of course, every good thing comes with consequences, right? And yeah, John, I know you've been in the social media thick of it, and you have some opinions about Facebook and other things and, different social media. I don't know if you care to share or if that's something you want to.
Yeah. In the organic SEO, not SEO, social media.
Mhm.
So I've done very little paid advertising, and so my tips are from that point of view.
Right. Well, and we'll go around and do the tips. I just wanted to know if you had any thoughts on the evilness of using the data.
I don't think it's evil. I think if we don't use it, it's going to be used against us. So you better figure out how to do it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's my opinion.
Well, I think these large tech companies have had a free ride for so long with lax and unenforced rules like Section 230, and so now they're advocating regulations now that they're so big, and so that kind of shuts out competition. Smaller social platforms that are up and coming that may have a new business model, and so I'm more of an advocate for light touch but effective regulations. And in my opinion, some of the things that these social media giants are proposing are heavy-handed, and especially burdensome for smaller companies that are up and coming that may not have the financial backing to sustain and grow.
How so?
Well, like for example, I use MeWe, which is a smaller social media app, but it's at times it'll get on number 20 on the social media charts on Apple, on the iOS App Store, and just to put that in perspective, Telegram has been around for 7 years, and sometimes MeWe will surpass them on the Apple App Store. It'll bounce back and forth, and they're very much within a basic set of guidelines. They're pretty much no algorithms. We don't manipulate things. You see a feed and you scroll through and look at what your friends post in chronological order. So it's companies like that if these regulations were put down, I think it would hurt them. They don't do advertising, but they do charge for pages and some different features that the users so it's a totally different system. It's not the user is not the product, they're the customer.
Okay.
I use Slack a lot with different groups for conversations because you can see the feed, you can, it sort of works. It's not really social media, but it is almost,
kind of a social media.
Cuts through the noise.
Right.
Yeah, I set up Slack to for a lot of the notifications for let's say there's a new update for a website or something broke. I'm starting to use Slack to kind of feed everything into one place so I can kind of monitor everything.
Yeah, I find it really useful. Yeah.
I don't like cluttering up my email with just notifications.
Right.
That makes sense.
Well, I was going to share the same tip, audiences. Great minds think alike, but I'm going to do just a slight angle on that and say retargeting audiences. So if you retarget using any social media, Facebook being the easiest, people who have visited your website, I think that is one of the most cost-effective ways to bring people back to your website and kind of build a community and build your audience. So basically, you just create an audience that is people who have visited your website in the last 90 days. So those are people who are already in your purview, or people who have some relationship with you. And then by using those as a retargeted audience, you're just bringing them back. And since we know, in order to make a sale, we have to have up to 20 touches. And, that just gives us the most touches for the least amount of money in my opinion. So I think if we're doing digital marketing for anybody, first thing we do is set up that retargeting pixel and set up some retargeting ads. because you can spend $20 a month and start seeing some really big increases in the number of people returning to your website and also the number of people using your social media as well. So that's my tip.
Nice. Yeah, it's a finite, it's like audience, but like very specific.
Yeah.
By next,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you two tips. One is you really have to have a communications plan that you've decided what you're going to talk about each week, and then I use that plan to share all my communications channels, including social media and email. And the other tip is I'm a graphic designer, and I actually create video and all sorts of things. So I have been using a little bit of motion in my posts, and I find it gets a lot more eyeballs.
Right. We've been watching the charts on your social posts, and once you started using same post or really close to the same post, but putting a little bit of motion, either the sky is moving in an aircraft ad or something like that, and her posts have just gone, 30% more traffic on the ones that
amazing. And I get bored looking at the same thing, so that's partly why that came about. I'm like, this is boring me. It's got to be boring anybody else who's looking at it. So, I just try to make it interesting.
Right.
And that seems to work. And that's not all that hard to do if anybody knows how to use Photoshop.
Yeah. You also put out these weekly, state of the market kind of snapshots. What are those called? I don't remember. I should.
Business jet values.
Business jet values.
Sales. What, business jet values and sales or something. Yeah.
Right. And the way that you animate those lets you put a lot more information into that very small space, because it shows you this and then this and then this, and you can just watch the charts move, and it just communicates the information very, very clearly, very simply.
It's 3 screens. The first one is the Alps with our logo and a plane that flies over it. The next one is 2 different graphs that doesn't have any movement. And then last one is a snapshot of one single aircraft. And then it has our, how to contact us that types across the bottom. And that works really well.
Right.
Is this like a GIF or a GIF, however you pronounce it?
I can make it. It's an MP4, and I can make it a GIF. I make it in Adobe After Effects, and then I do make GIFs out of it as well, because you can just dump it in Photoshop and it makes a GIF.
I haven't looked into it, but I guess Canva, you're starting to be able to do some of that too.
Yeah, so some of the things I use in it are from Canva, but I'd like to manipulate my stuff exactly the way I want.
Right? Yeah, artists love the After Effects and the Photoshop and things like that. I love Canva because it helps me communicate to an artist. This is what I want.
You can do a lot of great stuff in Canva if you don't know how to use these other things. I would absolutely check it out.
Yeah. Right.
I liked your first point, the communications plan with the consistency throughout. Do you mean like establishing, like saying the same thing on different platforms, or what do you mean?
We decide what topics we're going to talk about at the beginning of the week. And then I do it on all the platforms. The same thing happens. Sometimes the graphic obviously has to be a different shape because they're not all the same size. Or, one you can use video, another one, it just depends what's the best graphic for that platform. And I also send that out in email.
Shoot.
In a different format. So that we do the same exact discussion everywhere.
Well, and then you also establish consistency with the way that you were talking about how you sandwich those graphs in between the different things. So that shows consistency as well. So I think that's definitely something that I overlook, because I think I'm all about being spontaneous and like, I'll create this, I'll create that, but it doesn't give it as much of a professional
brand. I'm the brand manager basically, even though I do VP marketing. My main job is brand management. Yeah,
and that comes from that the brand book, right? The No BS. It's like a happy byproduct because of your consistency, because of what you put in. So that's great.
Yeah, I just think if you're going to be a corporation and you're going to communicate with other corporations, you've got to look like one and talk like one. For them to believe you are one.
Cool. Excellent. Excellent. Good tips.
So I'm going to piggyback off of Deborah's comments. I believe strongly in consistency, in timing. When I was posting, I haven't been posting a whole lot lately, but when I was posting, I would be right around the 7:30 to 8 o'clock in the evening is my posting time. And if I started missing a day or two in there, it took a few days, whether it's the algorithm or people got untrained, whatever, to pick back up. It was noticeable. I come from Google Plus. That's now defunct. But I think that the algorithms were over there were a whole lot easier to understand. And so there's definitely an impact on the individual social media user, when you don't post consistently. It's not just the algorithms. I think it's a little bit of both. And the thing I value most on the posts were comments, and then secondarily shares, and then thirdly likes. Likes are so easy. Shares are somewhat easy, and comments, especially well thought out comments, are the hardest. And I think algorithms generally follow that rule too. If a post gets a lot of comments, generally it will do a whole lot better organically. So
yeah, I've noticed, especially with the crowd that you're hanging with, on some of those, especially aviation history buffs and things like that. People are so passionate about those topics.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy to get a conversation going, which is great. And also the law of reciprocity applies here, because you thoughtfully reply to the comments you get. So everybody knows, when they take the time to comment, that they're engaging in a conversation, because they have that expectation. They've seen that happen before with you. And they also know that you comment on their posts in a thoughtful way.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not just throwing stuff out there and broadcasting. You're a participant in a real human being conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Helps a lot too.
He's being social.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the social part. People forget that. They think it's just a giant megaphone.
I think Vaynerchuk says if you take the media part out of social media, you'd probably get it right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Falls in line. That's cool. I've heard that the timing is really important too. I've heard that from YouTube people and Instagram people, establishing that consistent timing. I kind of find it difficult. Do you schedule your day around it? Like, do you schedule the time around it?
Well, there for the longest time, I did have a social media scheduling application, and then I went without it. And at that time, I was able to keep up because I was home a lot at around that time. So then I posted manually, and now I haven't posted in a little while. I might pick back up on that, but I do have a social media scheduling tool again that I haven't really used yet. So yeah, I would suggest a scheduler. And in fact, I do believe I haven't used it in a while on Facebook pages. You can actually schedule posts. Right within the Facebook page.
You can do that on Twitter too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, if you want to go low budget, go ahead and do it that way.
Right. A nice thing, I think part of it is the algorithms, and, part of it is the volume of posts that they have at that particular time, if you post at a time when maybe it's not quite so flooded. And another thing is not even technology, it's just becoming part of people's daily habit. So, like we send out our newsletter Monday mornings at 8. And that's probably the worst time to be sending a newsletter now that we're thinking about it. But we've been doing it for 15 years. So we can't change it now without taking a hit on that. We've just become part of people's habit. And if they don't get their newsletter, by 9 o'clock, if something weird happens that week, I'm getting messages saying, did I drop off your list, or, what did I do to tick you off? Something like that. So the habit is not a technology thing, but I think that's part of the equation there.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Larry?
Well, actually, I just dialed in to listen to all of you talk because I am not a salesman. I am a A&P mechanic and an aeronautical engineer by trade. So I guess I'm the anti-salesman. So this whole thing of learning branding and learning social media and how to do all that for me right now is drinking out of a fire hose. So all I can tell you is that when I do post a blog, most of my feedback comments, even though I posted on Facebook and LinkedIn and a lot of different platforms, I guess, it's always LinkedIn that I get the responses back from the community. Now, I am posting blogs that are pretty specific about, aircraft logbooks. It's only appealing to a certain small segment of our industry, but still, the timing thing though still throws me because I will post blogs and I'll get a couple of comments coming in on that same blog, and then 4 weeks later I'll get a comment coming in on that blog again. I'm like, why is that they just saw this? I don't understand the whole timing thing yet. So.
Well, looking at how LinkedIn, I don't do a lot of LinkedIn yet, but I'll be ramping that up. I probably have the least amount of experience with LinkedIn, but I've noticed that when I get notifications for other people's posts, generally they're 3, 4, or 5 days, even a week or so old. Mm-hmm. So I haven't figured out how that algorithm works. It just seems like there's no rhyme nor reason to that yet.
Yeah, that's a great reason to use more than one media because you've got a half-life of minutes on Twitter and Instagram maybe, and hours or days on Facebook, and weeks or months on LinkedIn. Just because of the way those platforms work and because of the habits of people who use those. It used to be LinkedIn would have, send me a weekly digest of the news in my industry and that kind of thing. And then they would send you once a week, a nice little email. I don't know if they do that anymore, but people got into kind of a weekly habit with LinkedIn, whereas Facebook is a daily habit or multiple times a day habit for a lot of people. So.
Yeah, that's something.
The other thing with, if you're not really doing a lot of social media, is just follow things that interest you. Yeah. I started on all these things years before I really posted very much and just watched.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's okay too. It's a news source.
Right. That's very Gary Vaynerchuk. And that's the thing we've been doing actually with a lot of clients lately is, setting up those alerts for different topics in your industry and then getting a digest once a week of the news about aircraft logbooks or, aviation websites or aircraft for sale and, that kind of thing. And then you can, from those news items, you can repost with a sentence or a paragraph. Here's this thing that's going on in our industry. Here's what I think about it, and just adding your own little twist. And that is a super easy way. Yeah.
You're building conversations with people who come back and talk about your stuff.
Right. Newsjacking is what it's called in the industry, but nobody cares what it's called. That's just the thing people do.
Yeah. To kind of throw this out here, what I've been thinking about for LinkedIn is I have a LinkedIn page for my web development business, and I've posted almost nothing there, and I have almost 200 followers on there. Mm-hmm. I think it's because there's aviation in the name, so people maybe find that because of that keyword in the business name. But anyways, I'm thinking about more, using my personal, profile on LinkedIn for more of the fun things like aviation photography and stuff, and then cross post from my LinkedIn page about web development and updates in WordPress and stuff that I think would be important, and not cross post everything over, but and then cross post my kind of the fun things, aviation photography once in a while over to the business page.
That makes sense.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that's really tough to do, right? Like as marketers, I think our main objective is to bring people over to a different platform to see us in our website as well as on Facebook and on Instagram and LinkedIn or what have you. But it's definitely something that you can only, like you were saying, you can only ask for that once in a while, right? If you're asking for that every single time, they're not going to stay with you on LinkedIn long enough for them to see that you have a website, because they're just like, oh, this isn't, this guy just wants me to go to his website. And we have an aversion, right? Because we don't get onto these social media platforms to look to be sold to, right? As soon as somebody seems like they're selling something, we disengage a lot of the time, unless we're familiar with that person, unless it's been, this is the 7th post and I really like everything else that you've put out, then it's almost worth, it's like, I have to see what you're talking about.
I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk, jab, 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 right hook. You have to have enough jabs in there. And all of us grew up, even old people like me grew up with Sesame Street, where we were entertained before we were educated, So we had a lot of music and dance and colors and Muppets and everything else before they taught us the alphabet. And, especially like Larry, where you're in a situation where you have some pretty heavy materials, we need to think of some way to make that lighter. And I know we've had that conversation with cartoons and other things to get people started down that road, because they don't want to spend 15 minutes and learn something if they're just browsing through social media. You have to catch them with, oh, that's a horrible aircraft disaster, where that happened. I need to find out more about that and incite their curiosity or their humor or something.
Yeah, I don't know, Larry, what your day job is like, working on aircraft, but, some behind the scenes photos might go over
Planes
well.
are beautiful.
Just keep
aircraft.
keep it very simple and,
Yeah. Okay.
I think one of the best things that I've noticed as far as targeting audiences is considering what I go on for. So Larry, if I were to ask you, what would you like if you were to hop on Facebook right now or whatever, what would you be seeking out? Like, what do you look for?
And what would make you stop scrolling, right?
Yeah.
Right. So because I have 2 different things that I do right now, I'm going to say the business aircraft records stuff when I'm on there, and I've got that hat on. I'm kind of looking for anybody that's had a problem with selling an airplane or logbook issue or that, or so I like to see the comments coming back from what I'm producing, because this is kind of new territory. Nobody else does this, so it's interesting to see what kind of feedback I get when it resonates with people. But the other thing I do is aircraft completions, and so that's always catching my eye, especially Boeing information, because my bread and butter is the MAX airplane. It's grounded right now, so that whole industry, completion industry for Boeing airplanes has come almost to a standstill. So I'm always interested in, I key on anything that has news about that. So that's what I'm going to spend time reading.
Yeah. Right. And what I love, as far as the completion videos and things like that, are the before and afters, or the time lapse of how things happen. That's and I think a lot of people in aircraft technology love to see that. Turbines has some really neat. I don't know if you've ever seen. There's used to be a show on cable TV called How It's Made, where they would show how something goes from raw ingredients to a finished product. And Turbines Inc. has kind of done a similar thing, where they take, this is a fuel nozzle that comes in the mail, from South Africa or something like that, from a agricultural aircraft. And then they take it apart and they acid wash it and they put it in the thing and they sandblast it and they da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and all of the testing and everything else. And then they show it going back into the mail and going back to South Africa and getting put on an airplane. So, that's just... that's really cool to people who are into that sort of thing. As far as aircraft records go, that's a little bit harder. So it's almost more of a concept video, like a cartoon of, here's how you can take things from X state to Y state, and use cartoons and music and something to make it more interesting than than watching paper slide across the desk. You know?
Yeah, it's a little like trying to tell somebody how to do a bookkeeping practice a little bit better. It's pretty boring and it has a very small audience.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, adding some entertainment value to it
Mm-hmm.
is a big deal. And I am fortunately working with you, Paula, and some others to maybe make that happen. Try to make it a little bit more of an interesting subject that people take heart instead of just everybody in my area, you know, DOMs, director of maintenance, and when people buy airplanes. So I'm sure you've gone through these pre-buys a lot where people find logbook issues, and that's the only time it comes to the surface and people are interested in it, and then they just want the problem to go away.
Right.
So yeah, and we all try to turn a blind eye to it and pretend it's like whistling through the graveyard. We try to pretend there's nothing there when we don't have to deal with logbooks.
Right. If I don't look at my bank account balance, it's fine.
Eventually it shows up though.
Oh,
Right?
it does. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Debbie, I think, you know, you do a really good job of presenting dry data in an interesting way. You know, and I think that social media really helps you do that, get it to more people than you would otherwise. So, you know, that's maybe you have some pointers on how to make that happen, how you go through the process of breaking something down and saying, well, this is boring, let's make it more fun. You know?
I get bored. That's because I went to art school. So, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I keep thinking I need to make new things. And so whenever I'm doing my job, I eventually decide I need to make it new. But with the particular thing, I guess we're talking about the jet business values and sales.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about your process of taking.
I had created, that's sort of been developing for several years that I've been making the material less wordy and more visual.
Mm-hmm.
Because people aren't going to look at it very long. And so I kept removing more words and making it just more colorful and more just like a chart or something. And then I sort of boiled that down to just really no words and all charts. And then I picked out several of those and just decided to animate it. And it worked. And I have the sky scene that we have from the Alps is something that we've used in a lot of our other materials, and it just looked like the perfect thing to fly a plane over, so I did.
Mm-hmm.
So and it worked. So it's very catchy, and it's really easy to make. It doesn't take me very long to do at all.
Right, especially after you've done a few.
Also important, but I can't spend a lot of time on it.
Right.
So
you take something that is boring but needs to be communicated, and then you say, how can I make this visual, and how can I make it more visual, and then how can I animate it? And is that the process? Or
you have to avoid that tendency to over explain things.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter helps with that. You only have so many
characters.
You've got to say it all in those characters.
Yeah, that's true. That's
it's
true.
a game.
Well, and that's probably why Twitter is so successful, right? Because you have these statements that have, just have so many words behind them, but you have to say it in X amount of time. And that's really what these social medias are designed to do is save us time. We check in with our families faster. We check in with the world faster. And so that's the appeal, I think, of these social medias. So it's tough to remember that, though. As like someone who's a professional in their craft, you want to grab someone by the shoulders and say, damn it, logbooks are important. And this is why, and that is why, and that is why, and that is why. But really, at the end of the day, you could show a logbook and like point to the specifics. Like Deborah said, take out as many words as you can.
3 points. Just make 3 points.
3 points.
3 points.
Rule of threes. I'm all for it.
mm-hmm. That's from even the.
And then give them your link so they can find out more, because that's what you really want them to do.
Yeah, call to action.
Right. I'm learning about that whole call to action and linking and cross-linking now too. It's really good. I understand the value of it. I just don't understand how to do it technically so well. Yeah, but I guess it's something we're all learning and get better at. So I'm working on learning it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're all learning all the time because it's evolving. I mean, social media is so different now than it was 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago.
5 months ago. 5
Right?
months ago, social media wasn't on fire. Like it seems so extreme, right? And that's the scariest part of social media, is that if it's getting this extreme this fast, like what direction are we going if it's like just so, blood pressure-y?
Yeah. I think the cautionary tale really for social media is there's two. One is that it's super inflammatory, can be. And the other is that you don't own anything that you put on social media. So you better have that intellectual property stored somewhere else, so that you could run your business if Facebook went down tomorrow. Or, whatever it is that you're using as a tool, there's going to be a different tool 5 years from now, likely. And, yeah. Any other cautionary tales from those of you who have seen The Social Dilemma, or anybody who's run afoul of anything?
I'm always careful what personal information I post about myself.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
I agree.
That's my suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
John?
I just avoid. I mainly post about aviation, and I reserve I'm a little more unfiltered over on MeWe, but still, I still keep it very high level.
Yeah.
So
I started using it for work.
Mm-hmm.
And I managed a special business district that was like an entertainment area. And there were just so many people that were going to connect with me that I just always thought of it as not a personal place to discuss anything.
Right.
So
Go ahead.
I was going to say, my nephew did what most kids do, post all of their personal issues on Facebook. This was years ago. But he posted on Facebook that he was taking anti-anxiety medicine because school was getting to him so much. And he was wondering if other fellow students had to do that as well. And 5 years later, he decides he's going to join. He graduates high school, decides he's going to join the Air Force. He goes to the Air Force, and they pulled up that comment and said, "So you used to take anti-anxiety medicine. Are you still on it?" So those things can come back and haunt you.
Doesn't go away.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Doesn't go away.
That's true. When we do a personal branding in our course, we talk about, the onion. You have your personal information that nobody knows. You have the information that you are willing to share, and then you have the information that you absolutely want to get out there. And, everything falls into one of those three circles, your inner or your outer ring, I guess. And having thought through what those rings are before you go down the rabbit hole is kind of important. Mickey caught me last weekend going down a rabbit hole that I wasn't expecting to go down, and it's just like, Mom, your Facebook is blowing up. Did you really intend? And I'm like, you know what? I have spent way too much time on this. This is not going to convince anybody. I need to back up. So yeah, have a safety buddy to catch you when you start going down the rabbit holes.
The only thing you're ever going to see about me is I've gone someplace to dinner, or,
Yeah.
a picture of a cloud, or really you never see. If you look at my personal stuff,
Right.
there's not
I
much
think
to
some
see.
of that is great because you want to know a little bit about people you do business with. You want to know, that they have a cat, or that, their kids play soccer, or, something. It's just human,
Picture of my garden. Yeah.
I think John's way of doing that's the best way. Like, of conveying your humanness is talking to another human is way better than, as cool as it is that I went on a hike last week, like that's not gonna really convey from human to human that I'm a human, right? It's just another highlight reel, like what we use it for. So I think the communication is often overlooked. The social aspect is really key. Cool. Well, does anybody else have any other statements as far as social media tips? Anything that we definitely missed?
No.
Well, sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I guess we can wrap up. Same deal. Just whatever you feel like saying, whatever your either elevator pitch or mantra, whatever works for you. So my name is Mickey Gaminal. I'm with ASVAB Domination by Gaminal Tutors. If you're joining the United States military, look me up.
Cool. So you now have a service in a product. That's fantastic. Paula Williams, ABCI, and we help aviation companies sell more of their products and services. And our next big effort is an aviation sales professional course that is going to be starting in October. So join us. aviationsalstraining.com has all the details for that. If you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you.
Hi, Debbie Murphy with Jet Brokers. We help our clients buy and sell jets. You can reach us at jetbrokers.com.
Yeah, I'm John Quathel with Trinity Aviation Solutions. I'm the CEO and founder of Trinity Aviation Solutions, and I help aviation businesses with their websites and reach new customers. You can reach me at trinityaviationsolutions.com.
And I'm Larry Heimbaugh, the Executive Director of Business Aircraft Records. And we are all about improving record keeping in our industry so that we can all enjoy it rather than suffer from it. And I'd appreciate you looking at my anywhere you see on social media. I'm attempting to get blogs and articles out there, and some of it I'm sure you'll find interesting, even if you don't have anything to do with logbooks. And you can always reach me at businessaircraftrecords.org.
Perfect. Cool. Well, great work, everybody. Good stuff. Next one's going to be in 2 weeks, and it is on the Red Book. I don't know what the name of the Red Book is.
Consulting Success by Michael Zapersky. And I think we all do consulting, whether we want to or not. Right? Sales is consulting, right? Consulting is sales.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, good stuff. I'm going to jet. I'll see you guys later.
All right.
Bye,
We'll see you.
everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Great session.
Bye-bye.
Bye.